I actually wrote this poem, which is called Cuates Love, and it was inspired by seeing these beautiful little, they're called crewel embroidery sets, Crewel, and they're little light wooden hoops, and within them is linen with a pattern printed on it, and then you sew and do the embroidery. And I was actually teaching through in Edinburgh, and I had lots of little slips of writing prompts that I'd cut out of a magazine, and I was getting people to dip their hand in and then write. And I took out one which said, "What is love?" And this was 2 days after I'd been at the Weems School of Needlework. And what is love is an abstract thing to write about.
Absolutely.
And I thought, what is love? What is love? And it suddenly popped into my head the idea that it would be a good idea to write about that, about somebody doing something very concrete, which was about doing embroidery, which is how the poem came about. So the poem came about because I'd done a visit, and then I happened to be teaching the NHS group that I do on Mondays, which is interesting, isn't it?
Just that serendipity and that synchronicity when you're working on one project and then you're led to another.
That's right.
And one bit almost feeds the other piece of the creativity, if you like.
Yes, because if I hadn't been at the Weems School of Needlework on Saturday, I would not have been. I would have written a very vacuous thing about what is love. I would have spoken about it in abstract terms, whereas instead I substituted actual images of what I had seen at the School of Needlework.
Would you like to share the poem with us, Maureen?
I could, because it's a short poem. It is a short poem. So it's called What is Love? Inspired by a visit to Weems School of Needlework, 11th of May 2019. Unable to call, awkward distance between, you hold in your hand a light wooden hoop. Grip tight within, stretched like a drum, linen printed with a pattern to fill in. You may never see your friend's newborn joy, but you can choose 3 shades of brown wool, 2 shades of golden, 1 dark red colour, green colour for paws and white for sharp teeth. Now you begin threading the needle to make the first stitch of love. Life's asymmetry and clumsy breakages of the heart are laid aside as you start embroidering her grandson's lion, listening to the breath of other women as you sit in the stillness stitching. Outside the light green leaves of summer whisper, whisper. What a gift, not the gift, but the making of it.
That's lovely.
Because at the Weems School of Needlework, the shop manager says that they have classes, and it is mainly women that go to it. So around the tables are women stitching, and in the past there were all the women apprentices stitching, and it's like I almost felt that the present and the past
were coming together. Coming together.
Were in the room, actually.
And perhaps the women of the time past and the time now are having very similar conversations around that table while they're doing their needlework.
Yes, well, yes, it's just sort of, because you do sometimes think with places that it's almost that well, there can be a little bit of a crack in some way, and that you can feel the past
seeping through again.
Yeah. I had that experience in a house where I lived with my ex-partner in Edinburgh, and it was a very, very incredible old Victorian house, and it had 2 staircases in it, and you never knew where you were in relation to the, when you're in one staircase, you didn't know where you were in relation to the other staircase. And I wrote a poem when I lived there called Victorian Maidservant, because you just felt, that the past was there.
Yeah,
actually.
and if you go into a lot of the old houses, we've been joined by Fife Constabulary, but they're very welcome. But there's friends. I've had friends that have had old Victorian houses, and if you go into the living room, for example, there's still the bell, which is no longer activated, but still the bell for to call the maid, which has never been removed. But it's actually very, very charming. It's and a lot of there's a lot of old flats in the Kirkcaldy area, which we both kind of live in, and you've got the egress that used to be the little bedroom with the curtain that would come past. And
this here, this building that I live in, there's 4 flats. This is 1900, and I do often think that we're all living in these flats in our way, but they would have been using the flat in a totally
absolutely
different way.
Absolutely.
That the kitchen would have been a pantry, and the lounge would have had a range in it, and people would have been in the bed recess sleeping in it. And then the room that I use as the bedroom, which is this beautiful, what do you call those things in the ceiling?
The runes.
The fancy thing round the lamp.
Oh, I know what you mean.
This eye. We didn't know the word.
But if you can visualise it, it's,
and that would have been the parlour. So it's really interesting, isn't it? That, and I often think to myself, gosh, if you could just in a flash,
close your eyes and see
see people in 1900 in that place.
Yeah,
absolutely. That gives you a fright at the same
time.
It
would absolutely, but it's so interesting, the history of our buildings. And you mentioned earlier on about that connection with the audience, and you're talking about, if you like, a connection with places. So I've got a feeling it's very much, your creativity is very much feeling that place, feeling those people, feeling that experience.
Yes, I suppose. Would that be right? Yes, I suppose it is actually. Yeah. Yes, and trying to feel what is unseen and hidden in a place, right, or in a situation as well. Really, I like that kind of thing. When I did a residency at Dumfries Infirmary, I became quite fascinated by everything that was going on underneath, as it were. So I kept on doing visits to the sewing women, and I kind of interviewed the catering staff. So, in fact, because the collection I wrote was The Unseen Hospital, so it was everything that was contributing to the whole, but which was not obvious, really, and I like that. And it's also because often the unseen and the hidden, whether it be people, right, like cleaners or porters, or whether it's unexpressed or unacknowledged emotions, right? Those are the things that's kind of important to articulate, really.
Yeah. So if you like, you're speaking about the unspoken. You're expressing the unspoken.
Yes. And I like people who've written about that kind of thing. Like over Christmas, though I had read one Muriel Spark before, they suddenly appeared in the libraries. There were all these Muriel Spark.
Yeah, because of our...
strange. It was a kind of bequest or something.
Yeah, our exhibition.
That's right. And I read all these Muriel Spark books, and they were quite amazing because she kind of sort of said the unsayable. A lot of her plots, you you just didn't believe that they were possible, and some of her characters, you know, were not necessarily likable, or they were quite shocking in a way. And
especially for that time.
For that time.
Yeah.
For that time. That's how the dog keeps it apart.
Because I remember reading about Muriel Spark, and I think it was during the time of the exhibition. It was Muriel, she did one edit. She didn't edit her writing. No, she typed it out. She typed it in an old typewriter and sent it out, and that was it. She didn't go back and change it. She just says that was that. And I really liked that approach. I thought it was a very interesting approach.
Yes. So. I'm not very good at honing myself, really. No. I am in a writing group, a women's writing group, which started way back in the 80s in Edinburgh, when there was a Women's Life festival, and there's a lot of kind of upsurge of cultural feminist activity, I suppose you would say, right? But I find it very difficult, you know. I mean, I go to that group because it's very wonderful to hear lots of different people and what they've written, but the honing and the you know, careful editing of poems, I'm not very good at that, really.
So if I said that you almost like prefer to work not in isolation, that's the wrong word, but you prefer to work quite independently on your work, and at the library or you know, wherever you feel drawn to doing it.
Yes, I think if I regard it, I mean, I know that poems get read in books, but I think if I regard them almost as dramatic in some way, so that I'm tinkering with that type of structure, you see. So that hinge point, playing with that hinge point. I think so. Yes, I do. I mean, even that what I've read, I do kind of regard it somehow as a little piece of drama, even though it is a poem, because there's a character who, for some reason, is not able to contact a friend at the moment, and then there's this activity that's being done, and there are these other actors, and there's the trees and the atmosphere. So I kind of regard it as a little piece of drama, you know. So,
and you're quite a fan of plays, aren't you?
Yes,
absolutely.
I love plays.
Yeah,
I love plays.
You've got a big smile on your face there when you're talking about.
I know.
Plays.
I wish I should go to more plays. And why is it hard to go to more plays? Sometimes it's a bit hard to go to plays in Fife because they have them on at 8 o'clock in the Biour Theatre, and I don't have a car, and I think, well, how will I get back from the Biour Theatre?
Yeah,
you know? So it was wonderful. There was this touring theatre company called Rapture Theatre Company, and they came to Kirkcaldy 3 times, I think, over a couple of months, and they did lunchtime theatre, right? And they were absolutely fantastic, very, very good acting, and they were classic plays that they were doing. They did a Terence Rattigan, they did a Arthur Miller one, and they were short plays, but they were done at lunchtime, and it was really easy to access, because there is a bit of a struggle. There is a bit of a struggle at times in Fife with accessing.
Yeah, it can be quite difficult if you've not got a car,
I know.
and the bus service doesn't.
No.
Or the train service doesn't help.
Because I sometimes pick up these brochures, and I think, well, is it worth my time looking at this brochure? You know, can I actually get to these places? And you have to do a lot of bus transport, and but no, I want to go to more plays because I love plays. I was asked by the chap that is the president for the Old Kirk Players, if I would do the teas and coffees for them. And I went and